So Snowden revelations now have caused countries to say, well, wait a minute, we weren't aware of all this stuff, right? And what they've been focused on is what the capabilities have been of NSA, haven't been focused on the checks and balances. So from a business perspective, what's important is to be able to say that you comport with the laws of the country that you are doing business in, right? So for IO doing business in the United States, we comport with those laws. We don't currently have any statutory restrictions on where data centers, what data centers can do in terms of moving data across state lines. But if we're in another country and just looking at potentially what some are trying to do, either in the European Union or Brazil, is now we're saying based on the fact that a perception that there was unregulated levels of scrutiny and oversight on what NSA was doing, that, hey, we don't want to be exposed to that. We're going to put restrictions in that companies that are going to want to operate with, say, the Brazilian government will keep the data and the applications within our control. Now, how do they do that, right? If Brazil's doing business with, pick a country elsewhere in the world, they got to go offshore, right? They got to go outside the boundaries. So here's where they're talking about actually creating dedicated fiber, dedicated big pipe connections that allows them to move across countries where they are comfortable and then not across countries that they're not comfortable with. And what people are writing about nowadays is the bifurcated internet, right? If we move down that path, we're actually creating, we're taking away some of the advantages of having an open-ended, secure internet. Remember, open-ended and secure need to come together. And we are actually creating a splinter net, right? We're breaking the network apart. So that's kind of at the strategic level, the issue for countries. For businesses, it's being witting of those issues, especially if you're a big provider, either on the telco side or if you're a Google or Facebook or an Amazon or an IO, right? An IO has to be looking at this issue. Now, for IO, one of the nice things about our business model is we do not get focused on the data. The customer is responsible for the data, right? So we're more focused on infrastructure as a service, software as a service, right? The other nice thing about IO is because we're putting the liability and responsibility on the client on the data, we also can help them because our business model is built from a platform that goes from the ground up. We, unlike an Amazon, or really any other cloud provider these days, can actually do and correlate physical and logically where infrastructure is, how infrastructure relates to compute, network, and store, and how it relates to applications, right? Kind of up that spectrum. Now, again, we're not going to get so focused on data. Breaking it down even further, what does it mean in terms of, okay, how do I know who's in my network doing what, right? We use and validate on the backplane with our product, our cloud product, multi-factor authentications that clients are coming into us on, right? So we have a way through our cloud implementation of ensuring that the integrity, the confidentiality, and the availability of data is not exposed because we have a validation scheme on multi-factor authentication. With regards to integrity of data, we have a scheme in place that allows us, and we haven't gotten there yet, but we're moving in the direction of encrypting the data at rest and in transit, right? So what does that do? That gives you an assurance that the data that you had at this one place, physically and logically, is in another place, sometime later, is the same, right? Has not been altered in any way. The other thing that's really nice about the IO Cloud product is we have built in through our concept of converging physical and logical resiliency, we have a redundant capability. Inherent in the cloud offering, any cloud offering, is you've got to have the ability to have redundancy, right? As one element of resiliency in the cloud. We have that through physical instantiations that are separate and working off of different power feeds. We have it logically based on how we've configured the cloud with regards to segregation and segmentation. So we have further capabilities with regards to if we're subject to, if a client was subject to, say, a distributed denial of service attack, we can actually scrub infrastructure for them through our network infrastructure and through the appliances in our cloud, and allowing them to continue to operate with the 2N structure we have behind them. So we have layers of redundancy that are built in physically and logically that add to the resiliency. And the final piece, which I think it really should address most of the concerns that folks have, is we're tackling the problem of transparency and security, right? So through our data center operating system, iOS, we now have the ability to look up and down, right? And we're continuing to build this further out, right? We're sensing everything that's going on from an industrial control system base all the way up into the IT app, into the virtualized world, and we're correlating physical devices, application calls, input-output routines, in time and in geography, and can pull that information down. And we can show that to our clients.